Hello everyone, welcome back to Jikook Magic. Imagine you're walking through a completely ordinary day, and then suddenly, you cross paths with Jungkook. No concert, no fan meeting, no preparation whatsoever, just fate stopping right in front of you. But the story doesn't end there. There was a brief scene from Are You Sure? A quiet conversation between Jungkook and Jimin that we once heard, and then it disappeared. And at the same time, his name was mentioned alongside Beyoncé, Taylor Swift, and Drake on MuchMusic's special Muchmore program. Coincidence? Or proof that behind all the spotlight, there's something much deeper? Let's talk about it. An ARMY once shared an experience on Instagram that, in her own words, still feels unreal to this day. Not because she attended a massive fan meeting. Not because she bought a front-row concert ticket. None of that happened. She was simply walking on a completely ordinary day. No plans, no expectations. When fate seemed to stop right in front of her. In the middle of her casual steps, she crossed paths with Jungkook. At first, her brain refused to process reality. The moment felt like a dream sequence too beautiful to be real. Is this actually happening? Or am I hallucinating? That was the silent battle inside her mind. A few seconds stretched endlessly. The world around her seemed to dim, leaving only one figure standing vividly before her. When the realization finally hit, that it was truly Jungkook, her emotions overflowed. But what stayed with her wasn't just the fact that she saw her idol in person. What made her hands tremble was the energy he radiated. She wrote that some people's presence can be felt even before they speak. Jungkook, she said, has that kind of aura. Calm, peaceful, yet at the same time powerful and magnetic. Not loud or forced, but a soft light that naturally draws attention without asking for it. She was surprised because the person standing in front of her was far from the image of a distant global superstar. There was no arrogance, no artificial distance, no celebrity mask. What she saw was someone grounded, sincere, and real. They exchanged a few words, brief, simple, yet meaningful. She didn't share the details, perhaps wanting to keep them as something personal. They took a photo together, of course. But for her, the photo wasn't the heart of the moment. The most precious part was standing face to face with someone she had only ever seen on a screen. That was when she realized something. True stars don't try to shine. They don't force their light. They shine because it is simply who they are. And that moment will stay with her for a long time. Not just because she met her idol, but because she walked away with a warm heart. A mix of nervousness, happiness, and awe that still makes her chest tremble whenever she remembers it. But Jungkook's story doesn't stop with that unexpected encounter. There was another moment that caused what many fans called an emotional short circuit. A brief scene from Are You Sure? That appeared in the teaser, and then vanished in the final episode. We saw it. We heard it. In the preview clip, there was a scene that felt different. Slower, quieter, more honest. Jimin and Jungkook were sitting side by side in a calm, intimate atmosphere. No dramatic music, no rapid editing, just a conversation flowing gently. Jimin said, in a tone far from playful, "Honestly, I really wanted to drink here with you." The sentence sounded simple, but the way he said it felt like a small confession he had kept for a long time. And Jungkook replied without laughter, without changing the subject. "Back then, I was really struggling, you know? So I leaned on you." That wasn't light dialogue. It was raw vulnerability, a confession about a difficult time and about who he leaned on during it. When the teaser was released, many waited anxiously. We wanted to know what else they said. We wanted to understand what period they were referring to. We wanted to hear how they described the pressure they endured together. Then the episode aired. The location was there. They laughed. They spent time together. But that conversation was gone, as if removed with a surgical blade. If it wasn't meant to be there, why include it in the teaser? Was it an editing mistake? Or a last-minute decision? Was it considered too intimate? Too real? Because a scene that powerful is rarely cut without reason. When two people admit that they were each other's support during the hardest times of their lives, that isn't an ordinary conversation. speaks of trust, of shared history, of a connection that doesn't need long explanations because it's embedded in the smallest details. Maybe precisely because it felt too real, it was kept hidden. Sometimes what's strongest isn't what is shown, but what is chosen not to be shown. Even if we may never see the full conversation, its trace remains. A question mark that refuses to fade. On another note, there's a small detail that shows Jungkook's deeply human side. He once retweeted a video of a girl carrying multiple shopping bags at once so she wouldn't have to go back and forth. Many thought it was just a random funny clip, but fans remembered it echoed a moment when he lost a rock-paper-scissors game to the members and received the punishment of carrying all the shopping bags by himself. And he actually did it, laughing the whole time. Little things like that complete the picture of who he is. Not just the figure on stage, not just the emotional scene that was cut, but also the young man who accepts losing a game and carries shopping bags without complaint. Then came an even bigger acknowledgement. On MuchMusic's special Muchmore program, one of Canada's most popular music shows, there was a moment that caught everyone's attention. Jungkook's name was mentioned alongside Beyoncé, Taylor Swift, and Drake. The category was described as the show's most important and most anticipated segment, like a Mount Rushmore of contemporary pop music, reserved only for the absolute elite. The evaluation wasn't just about temporary popularity. It considered real impact, chart achievements, cultural influence, and constant presence in global conversations. And Jungkook was placed in that league. Not merely a K-pop star, not just a member of a global group, but a fully recognized international artist. From an unexpected encounter on an ordinary street, to a heart-shaking conversation that disappeared, to global recognition on the world music stage, everything forms the same picture. Behind the spotlight and the numbers, there is a young man whose energy is felt even before he speaks. Someone capable of being a pillar during hard times. Someone who remains human in the midst of glittering fame. And maybe that is where the true light lies. From unexpected meetings to missing conversations to global acknowledgement, everything points to one truth. True light never needs to force itself to shine. If you think that missing scene was indeed too real, share your thoughts in the comments. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications.